Hello and welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to come on here and talk about, it's so weird to like vocalize this out into the open like I'm about to do, but it's something that I just want to talk about, something that like has been happening in my life recently. And you know, I just want to put it out there that if you're going through something that was confusing and you feel stuck and alone and like you just don't know what to do, the best thing I can literally tell you, the best advice I can give you is to simply surrender. For one, reach out to your spirit guides, if you worship somebody, or gods, goddesses, spirit source, God, whatever you want to call it, the divine, whatever it is, just reach out and ask for guidance. I want to talk about something really personal real quick. And I want to say that there's nothing wrong with believing in what you believe in, I feel like as long as you're not harming anybody or yourself. Everybody should believe in what they believe in. If it gets them through the day, so be it. Like this, my channel is a space where I accept everybody for who they are. This is a space where I hope everybody else can feel safe in expressing themselves, and where we can just talk about spirituality and stuff like that, not hate on each other for it or talk down on anybody. When I was younger, I grew up Christian. I grew up in a Baptist church. Jesus was introduced to me, God was introduced to me at a very young age, and I remember when I was little being just fascinated, and very young I would be like, oh my gosh, like if God made the people, then who made God? Like what is God? Like I always had this question. Around 11 or 12 I ended up getting baptized, and I remember like writing this long thing on a piece of paper on why I wanted to let God into my heart. And at the time I thought it was a beautiful thing. Even though I was really young, it was such a big spiritual thing for me. But I also wasn't really vibing with the religion itself. I felt very confined and very like there was too many rules. We kind of stopped going after we ended up moving when I was going into middle school, and we kind of stopped going to church and everything, and I just kind of forgot about it, and I went off being a teenager. So I feel like everything that I've been through has led up to this moment right now. Middle school, my mom was friends with this beautiful lady that I consider my aunt, and she introduced me, her and her children, which are like my cousins, kind of introduced us to the world of the paranormal, because they always lived in a haunted house. If you know Collingswood, New Jersey, you know that most of these towns are really old and historic around here, so every house they lived in, it had some type of paranormal thing. I actually saw my first spirit at their house, and I had my own paranormal experiences, but I would see like shadow figures out of the corner of my eyes all the time. And I also had another incident at one of our houses that we lived at in Collingswood, which I won't talk about on here. I won't talk about right now. I could talk about it later. One night her daughters came out, and they were like, this little girl won't leave me alone. There was a little girl spirit that was in their room, and her mom looked at me and she was like, hey Kay, why don't you go up and see if you see anything? And I looked at her like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna see anything. Like, I don't see spirits. I mean, it would be cool if I did, but at the same time, I just didn't think I was capable of seeing spirits. So we go upstairs, and my friend was like, introduce yourself, so the spirit knows that, like, to not be scared of you. And so I was literally said, my name's Michaela and I want to see you. I felt stupid, but that's what I said. All the lights are turned off, and then I look over in the hallway, and there's like, so say I'm sitting here on the bed, the doors are right here, and then it's like a long hallway, but off the door is like her sister's room right here. So I could see her sister's door, and it was dark in there. Everything was dark, and I just start seeing this ball of light appear, and this orb appears, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm seeing it like form in front of my eyes, and I had to blink a few times, and I looked away, and I looked back, looked away, looked back, thinking it was my eyes messing with me, like adjusting to the darkness. It was there, and it was just like an oval ball like this big, and it was crazy. I was like, oh my God, I think I see her. And she's like, where do you see her? And I pointed, and she was like, yeah, that's her. And I was like, turn the light on right now. And she turned it on, and it disappeared. So that was probably the first time I saw a spirit. So, you know, at that point, I'm opening up more, like, okay, there's definitely something going on here. There's things beyond, like, this physical plane that, you know, we see every day. There's something going on. I struggled with my relationship with God for a long while. When I was in high school, I started getting into my senior year, I started getting into the concept of past lives, and then after I graduated, I went through this like really crappy breakup with somebody in high school, and I was trying to learn, like, figure out how to deal with these, like, this sadness and these like emotions that were really heavy for me. And just to understand like why things didn't work out and why things happened the way they did. And one day I kind of just had an epiphany, like, and I don't mean to, like, this might sound ignorant to some people, but it's true to a certain extent, I believe. I thought, like, I don't have to be sad about it, like, I'm choosing to be sad about it. So I kind of like made a really fast mindset shift. Hope I said that right. Then I started getting into, I wasn't Buddhist, I didn't practice any religions, but I started getting into Buddhism and a little bit of Hinduism, and I started meditating, really making that journey to the self, to the soul, I would say. And ever since then, I've been kind of on that journey. I've been very open to the journey to the soul, and it's the most beautiful journey besides my relationship with Source, because, like, I believe that we are all extensions of Source, of God. We all, this knowledge that it's no secret, like, this relationship that you have with yourself and like with Source, it's always been there, even before you've incarnated on this earth. It's just up to you to want to make that journey. And it probably sounds so confusing me saying that, especially to people that really don't understand this type of journey. Basically, I'm kind of going off track here. Basically, more recently so backtracking, I discovered Ram Dass and Brian L. Weiss and just so many other, like, just so many other people that just talked about this spiritual journey. I followed Claire Michelle for a little bit, and I think she's a very misunderstood person. A lot of people make fun of her for being the way she is, but they don't realize that she's literally, every day she's literally like making that journey to the self. And it doesn't mean that she's like none of us are perfect. We all have an ego. Like, we all have shit we're going through. I don't care how spiritual you are, you have an ego, and we all, like, nobody's perfect. No spiritual journey is perfect. It's all different. But, like, people make fun of her for being, like, so airy and so, like, she's very passionate and very poetic person, and they make fun of her for it, but, like, she's very misunderstood as a person, I think. And people just don't understand, and they don't want to understand. People don't want to change. I was one of them. It's scary, but, like, at the same time, I feel like a part of me embraces that. A part of me embraces every emotion that I come across, and, like, instead of, like, sometimes I want to push negative emotions away, but, like, at the same time, how else are you gonna learn? How else are you gonna heal? How else are you gonna, not necessarily ascend, but, like, be the best version of yourself you could possibly be? You gotta go through the rough shit you grow through what you go through. I just feel like if you sit there and, like, really just forget about the shit around you for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Forget about the shit around you. Forget about the shit you're dealing with in life. You gotta really just sit back and really take in what you're feeling and, start to go inward and feel those shifts and really get in touch with those emotions. And the journey to the self is going to be the most liberating, enlightening experience, because you are an extension of God. You are an extension of Source. And the more you journey to the self, journey inward, the more you're going to connect with love. The more you're going to connect with what you really, the frequency you really vibrate on. So many people go through this life like looking for love and looking for somebody to make them feel better or about themselves, or just connect, which is why we're here. We're here to connect, and we're here to love, and we're here to help each other. No, like, that's another thing I've been learning. Nobody has to go through anything alone. Like, yeah, sometimes you have to go through things alone to learn certain things, but ultimately I feel like we're here to connect with human beings, and we're here to help each other, and, you know, extend that helping hand out when it needs to be done. I just realized I'm not wearing my necklace that I made. I was told to wear chrysocolla and hematite because they go good together for communication and like protection and stuff. So I figured, well, I'm trying to talk right now, why not wear my necklace? What I'm trying to say is that there's so much more beyond this reality, this 3D reality that you're experiencing right now than what meets the eye. There's so much more there. And honestly, it's ultimately up to us as there's so much more that meets the eye. I think it's up to us whether to go on that journey to the self. I feel like if you try and connect with love and that light, the loving light that there is, I feel like you'll know the answers that you're seeking. There's times where I get so sad and confused, especially like when it comes to my own spirituality, just because I'm a lot more awake than I used to be. Like, I see the flaws in the system, I see the flaws in humanity, I see the flaws in myself, and, you know, sometimes like I put that weight on myself even though it's not my weight to carry. But then again, it kind of is, because I'm part of this collective. So sometimes I put that on myself, and I'm like, I get really sad and depressed, and I'm like, I don't even want to be here. Sorry if that's triggering, but it's the truth of the matter. And then I feel like those emotions are so liberating, because then I get to go back and remember that, oh yeah, I'm a soul in a body, and everything's actually okay. Even though it doesn't feel okay, it's really okay. Like, it's gonna be okay. This is just an emotion I gotta get through, a thought I have to get through. Everything will be okay and is okay. I don't really know what this video is. I just kind of word vomited for like 15 minutes. I'm gonna talk about some recommendations of books that I've read that have helped me on my journey to the self. Okay, so the first book that I read is called The first book that I read is called Be Here Now by Ram Dass. I actually gave it to somebody. I keep giving that book out to people and then never getting it back, but I guess this is the second time this has happened, so I guess they were meant to have it. It's fine, it is what it is. Be Here Now by Ram Dass. When I read that book, honestly, I felt like it like triggered something in me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, everything's okay. And I remember in the middle of reading it, this was back in 2016, my parents were like arguing at the time, and I remember looking at them, and like I just had so much love pour out of me, and I'm like, wow, for once I didn't feel like I was attaching to their argument. I was literally coming from a place of love, and I just like, it was weird. It was so weird. Let me know if you've ever experienced that. The second book that I would say helped me for the journey to the self and realizing that I'm a soul in a body is Miracles Happen by Brian L. Weiss. I've talked about this so many times probably. These are the transformational healing power of past life memories from people that he's regressed during hypnosis. And then this is another book. I haven't read through this whole thing yet, but Many Lives, Many Masters. And it's the true story of a prominent psychiatrist, his young patient, and the past life therapy that changed both of their lives. This book I read more recently, which I made a video on. It's called Only Love is Real, a story of soulmates reunited by Brian Weiss, MD. It's a story of soulmates reunited. It's a story of two people in their past life regressions and how they both experienced the same regression, and they came from two different walks of life and didn't even know each other. Found out they were soulmates, and they've been together many lifetimes. This is another one I read, The Untethered Soul. Oh my gosh, if you're going through depression, anxiety, anything, please read this book, because it will literally help ground you. And at first, I was going through anxiety and like a little bit of paranoia at the time. This was back in like 2017, 2018 maybe. I found this book. Claire Michelle recommended it. They talk about anxiety a little bit and the voice inside your head, and then it's like it makes you like realize, oh yeah, there's a voice inside my head, and it's like kind of creepy. But then the more you go on, the more of a transformational journey it is. Like, okay, what messages should I tell the collective right now? Alright, as far as your spirituality goes, you're going to grow very rapidly. A person who actually does this every moment of every day is going to notice the cleansing in their heart. This is because they're not getting involved in the stuff that comes up. They're also going to notice the purification of their mind because they are not getting involved in the mind's melodrama. Their Shakti, spirit, is going to awaken even if they know nothing about Shakti. They will come to know a happiness that is beyond human understanding. This path solves daily life, and it solves spiritual life. The greatest gift one can give to God is to be pleased with His creation. It goes so much more in depth about that, but I'm telling you, like, read this book, please. And the next book that I have, I've only dabbled in a little bit. It's a lot. So this one's called The Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton, PhD, and it just goes into like the destiny of souls and like what souls are, and like, you know, just different karmic lessons that we're here to learn and why we choose to incarnate and stuff like that. And then this is the newest one that I just got and I'm reading right now. This is called Awakening to the Fifth Dimension. And it's revolutionary wisdom from one of the world's most respected medical intuitive healers. Now, me personally, as a human, I know I'm a healer. I've always been drawn to the healing path. I knew I didn't want to go into the medical field, but now, like, I'm currently in school to be a holistic nutrition coach, just because I'm very passionate about holistic nutrition. And I've always, for some reason, the universe has been throwing signs at me, like, and books my way about Reiki. So that's another journey I've started to embark on recently, doing more research about it. But all I want to say is, like, just pay attention to those intuitive urges that you get. If you're passionate about something, you better go for it. You're passionate about it for a reason. Do it. Keep an open mind and, you know, start on that journey to the self, because you're gonna have so many beautiful realizations. And just remember that you are carried by God, you are carried by Source, you are carried by this universe. I don't care if that makes me sound like a freaking hippie, and some people aren't gonna understand that and look at me like, okay, she's off her rocker. Maybe I am, who knows? It's okay though, it's okay. People will only understand you as far as they've understood themselves. As far as, I probably butchered that, but so sorry if this video is all over the place. It's probably so long, and if you've stayed this long, I am excited for you. If you're, you know, now on your spiritual journey and realize that spirituality is much more than just like, you know, lighting incense and, I don't know, wearing hippie clothing and smoking weed. I don't know, I feel like that's such a stereotypical thing. It's the journey to the self ultimately, so yeah, and we are mirrors of each other, and I'm extending love to you and healing energies towards you, so namaste.